Well, guys, we are back for another episode of the Liberal Asshole Show, episode 131. And what are today's topics?
Iran and Israel are at war. Georgia's cruel abortion laws. MAGA defends terrorism. Andy Bresher destroys transphobic arguments. Karen David Portnoy crashes out. RFK Jr. fires vaccine and cancer experts. And Dylan Burns destroys anti-Ukrainian left.
Oh boy, a lot of topics to cover. So what do we start off with first?
We're going to start with Israel and Iran at war.
Alright, guys.
Again.
Yep, it's been going on for years now, but this time it's for official. For like the last week, Iran and Israel are at war with each other. Now, of course, It's a whole lot different war than what we normally see, as neither can actually invade each other. It's just shooting war of airstrikes, missiles, and drones pretty much. Not much casualties, but still not really good either way. Now, of course, we need to point out why this happened, as it's a whole complicated thing and all that. It's not as simple as, unfortunately, some on the left, including you too, Kyle, and Mike too, I've noticed, have been like very not so good on it and such. So, of course, Israel attacked Iran last week and so. There's stated reasons because Iran's gonna have nuclear weapons any moment now, which of course
it's been saying since the 90s.
Yep, remember, people gotta remember that. Netanyahu's been saying for decades now that Iran's like this close to having nuclear weapons, and all these decades later they still haven't. So you need to point that out, people, every single time. So that's the stated reason such. Now, in the last week, as it's been shown, Iran's a paper tiger. Which we saw back in October when they had like most of their anti-air defenses destroyed when they did their second missile attack on Israel months ago and such. So yeah, they have no missile defense. Israel has complete air superiority over like Tehran and like the area near Turkey and such. Like a whole bunch of Iran. Israel has no threats whatsoever. They can just fly around and no problem whatsoever. They've devastated a lot of Iran's like nuclear areas and such. They've killed like 7 of their 10 generals, been supreme commanders, with one of their replacements already being killed soon afterwards as well. They've just massively devastated Iran to the point where, hey, the paper tiger. So much for all that bluster, huh? And all that. So yeah, that's what's going on there. Iran, of course, is responding with missiles and all that. And also, good job, Iran, acting like Israel and, attacking civilians, attacking hospitals, just like Israel did in Gaza. Now you guys are doing the exact same thing. Yep. Showing that, of course, because a lot of people, like Kyle and Mike have said, have been acting like, oh, Iran's innocent and all that. Are you really...
There's not really that much difference between them.
Yeah, are you really...
Israel, Iran, and Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, are you really that innocent when you're attacking civilians and hospitals and stuff? We criticized Israel for doing that. You need to criticize Iran for doing it too. But, of course, no one on the left's covering this and such. Other than me, of course. So, and here's something else I wanted to point out. Like, we're going to get to a lot of this too. Like we said, Israel's stated goal is about nuclear weapons and all that. And as we said for decades, Netanyahu said that they're doing this, and no proof has been shown since, just like with the Iran nuclear deal and all that. That IAEA was showing that they were complying the entire time. Now, of course, the new thing that they've been saying, because for the last few months, Trump has been trying to get Iran back into the nuclear deal, which, by the way, he got out of in 2018. So, funny how he got out.
Biden didn't fucking get back into it because he's a fuckhead, because he's a fuckwit, and it's just as bad as actually a Republican and not a Democrat, and is a dino, so fuck him and fuck him.
Yep. So yeah, tried to get back into the deal, which got out of years ago. Maybe you should have stayed in and we've been all fine and all that. But of course, nothing's happened. Both sides are stalling, let's be honest with that. Both sides act like the other's stalling and all that, and that's when Israel decided to respond, which, hey, Iran's weak, so perfect time in their regards and such. So, of course, like the nuclear threat and all that, as we've seen for years, we thought was bullshit and all that because you've been saying for decades and still no proof on it. However, there's something recently. This actually came out right before, like the day before the war broke out. And I pointed this out to Kyle multiple times on YouTube, Twitter, and of course, no reply sent. So remember we bring up IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Association, which is in Iran, covering their own nuclear facilities on it, make sure they're compliant and all that.
Yes.
Well, it turns out, like a day or so before the war broke out, they released a report that everyone, all the neocons point out, but for some reason a lot of the left haven't pointed out, that the IAEA reported that Iran is in breach of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty.
It was eventually gonna breach, partly because it couldn't get rid of it. Wasn't able to couldn't get rid of it. But also, yeah.
Like, let's be honest, people. Iran is not an honest and innocent actor as a lot of people are acting they are. Like, they're just as bad in this regard as Israel. Like, let's be honest, people. So, what do you guys say about this report that, of course, a lot of the left aren't bringing up, except me, apparently?
Yeah, not surprising.
I mean, because they have been violating the deal, too, after Trump got out of it. Like, they're supposed to only enrich uranium to, like, 3% for, like, domestic, peaceful, like, energy production, all that. They've enriched up to, like, 60% in some regard stuff, which is getting close to nuclear weapons grade and such. So, which, again, not showing yourself in good grace there, Iran. If you really were honest, you would stay at the points to show that you are abiding by the treaty and all that. So, again, not a good look.
It was like, you know what? They're probably planning to annihilate us. So we'll see how far we can go.
Yeah. So it seemed kind of obvious they are trying to do something, and they're not as innocent as people insist that they are. Now, does that justify what Israel's doing? Probably, maybe not. But it's not black and white like it was for the Russo-Ukraine war where Russia was 100% wrong. There's a lot more nuance and such to this. So yeah, that's what's been going on recently. There hasn't been many casualties, thankfully, because again, neither side can really do anything, of course. It's just going to be shooting missiles and strikes and drones and such. Now, of course, there's one thing that Israel is trying to do, as they want to do a strike on the main nuclear facility where they think Iran would have the enriched uranium to produce nuclear weapons. Now, the problem is, it's buried deep underground, and almost none of their missiles, even bunker busters, which they have, can't reach it. Which is why, of course, Netanyahu is trying to get Trump to get America involved in the war, because we do have the missiles to do that.
To use a nuclear weapon, and then to just do a massive carpet bomb of Iran to kill as many people as possible.
Oh yeah, that was one of the reports recently that Kyle covered too, that Trump kept on the tables potentially using tactical nuclear weapons. I actually saw that report like the day before Kyle covered it, because Trump does not think that the bunker buster bombs that America has would be enough to do the job done. The military, however, insists that they think it would be good enough, and they don't think tactical nuclear weapons would be needed, especially since also, if we did use nuclear weapons, that would open up a massive Pandora's box, and we don't need to give Russia any ideas on Ukraine, people. So I honestly, especially after dealing with him the first turn, I don't think right now he would actually consider that. And such.
If he hadn't used the mother of all bombs, that could be a time to do that.
I don't know if that's a bunker buster bomb though. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of options they could do. But I've seen conflicting reports like Trump wants to get involved, but does at the same time. He's flip flopping like he always does. People like we've always seen over the years and such. In a lot of ways, maybe he's fucking over Netanyahu, which hey, good in that regard and such. But of course, Netanyahu is trying to get America involved in this war, which is no, absolutely not. If you want to fuck up Iran, do it on your own. If you want the bunker buster bombs that you don't have, and if your planes, because it's not just they don't have them, they don't have the planes that I heard that be able to carry them, because the bunker buster bombs that America has, they're like 30,000 pounds and such. And I don't think, and it seems like Israel's planes might not have the capacity to be able to carry them. I've seen conflicting reports on that they actually possibly could have a cargo plane that could do a job. It's up in the air. But you know what? If you can do it, how about we just give you the bomb, whatever, and you do it on your own, and we stay out of it? How about that one? Because I want no involvement whatsoever, like any smart American should be. So,
yep.
yeah. And that's, of course, that's what's going on, all that. Of course, Trump flip-flopping back and forth to try and get out of it. Oh, yeah, just recently on a OSINT Twitter channel I watch on Twitter, they reported a few hours ago, Iran actually sent a delegation to Oman, because for all of you don't remember, at the beginning of this war, America and Iran were actually discussing, like I said, about getting back in the nuclear deal and all that. And of course, once Israel attacked Iran, they said, Iran was like, nah, no interest anymore. But now they've done like a emergency meeting in Oman where they said, we'll consider going back to the negotiations again if Israel stops attacking us. Now, of course, I doubt Netanyahu would do that, because he's such a piece of shit. I don't think he will either. I mean, hopefully that's all I could say. I have no idea. As long as America stays out and all that. But I will say this, because people are freaking out like, what's Iran going to do and all that? Now, of course, about the nuclear weapons. Guys, here's the thing. Even if they had nuclear weapons, what makes you think that they're going to use them? Because that's like the view that the right...
that's what most of them have nukes for, is just deterrence.
Yeah, because it's the same argument people used about North Korea, remember? For like 20 years almost now they had nuclear weapons. Have they used them on anyone? No.
Nope.
And I do think if Iran did have nuclear weapons, they're not going to use them. Because what would happen if they use them? How are they going to even send them to Israel, for God's sake? They don't even have probably the ballistic missiles to even hold nuclear weapons. Because nuclear weapons need really powerful rockets. Who says Iran has them? Very few countries even have them and such. So they might not even have the capacity. And even if they did nuke Israel, you do know what would happen if they nuked Israel, right?
Stratosphere.
They would be destroyed by Israel. Pretty much, I wouldn't be surprised if the entire world, even their allies, Russia and China...
Oh, yeah. No, they wouldn't... The land of Iran would be in the bloody stratosphere.
Yep, they wouldn't exist. And people act like, no, they're different from like Russia, China, North Korea and all that because they're rational. Iran's full of jihadists and all that. I don't think the government is as fundamentalist and suicidal as you think. I'm pretty sure all the governments are rational in some regard. So even if they had nuclear weapons, I don't think they would use them. And what do you think?
The only thing they'd probably use it for would be if I go down, I'm taking you with me. With if they detect there's one coming their way, they'd then maybe fire one into Israel and maybe another into Saudi Arabia to take them with Iran.
Yeah. Oh yeah, another thing too is, at most, it might even be possible they might not even have a nuclear weapon. They might have more likely have a very dirty, radioactive, biological weapon, which kind of was what Hiroshima and Nagasaki were too, if you remember.
Yeah,
they were crudely designed.
That was also because the time was thing with that.
Yeah, so I don't think it's as bad as people think it is. However, we also can't deny about the IAEA report, which, unlike Kyle and Mike and all of them, I'm not going to just ignore the IAEA report just because it says something that you might not like. I'm going to be objective on it. If they say this, and they're the experts who are in Iran when they say this, I think we should take what they say at face value and such. So, now what is Iran's response going to be? Well, all they've been doing is firing missiles at Israel, which a lot of them have been shot down, of course, because everything they have is dog shit. And there have been some threats that if America got involved and all that, they would probably attack American bases throughout the Middle East and all that. And of course, what would that really do? You could potentially... America could potentially make the argument, hey, NATO, we were attacked in 9/11, would you want to join in on us? You're really playing with fire if you try to attack America and all that. And then they have also threatened, we'll bottle up the Strait of Hormuz and all that to stop shipping oil. America's Navy will obliterate that with no effort, of course. And also, if you did do that, you would pretty much piss off the entire world who also needs the oil and all that. Like China, your beloved ally, apparently. So, are you really going to piss off everyone in the world to, stop this war? Or do, strikes on, the Middle East, who are aligned with America and Israel? Do you really want to get Saudi Arabia and all them against you? Do you really want to do that? Everything you would recommend potentially doing is just going to create potentially more enemies against you. It's just not smart. Let's be honest, people. Iran, if you really want to survive, because remember, they're not going to say this, but we know the other reason, too, that they want to do this war. It's not just to get rid of nuclear weapons, it's also to overthrow the Iranian regime, which absolutely cannot be done by America or Israel. If it's done internally by the Iranian people, that's fine. Let them do it on their own. Let them decide. But not us. No invasion whatsoever and all that. And also, I don't think, even if America got involved, I don't think right now it would actually be an actual invasion like Iraq. It would probably just be the airstrikes, and that's it for right now. What do you think?
A lot of airstrikes, and that'd be about it.
Which, hey, that's not the same as invading Iraq, which a lot of people are acting like it's the same. It's not. It's not. I mean, are you going to say, like, what we did in Libya and Syria is the same thing as Iraq? It's not. Not good and illegal, yes. But
it was part of the broader war on terror, but...
It's not. Like, it's bad. Not yes. Like illegal. Yes. But is it
Iraq or Afghanistan?
Is it bad? Yes. Is it wrong? Yes. Is it illegal? Yes. But is it the same as invading like Iraq and Afghanistan? No. Nope. Like there's a limit to this and all that. Like that could potentially be enough to maybe encourage the Iranians themselves to overthrow. Which hey, the Iranians do not like their government. Give them a good enough ammo to hopefully overthrow the government themselves, like what happened in Syria and such. So, yeah.
You also remember, though, that the group that now leads them, a lot of them, they got a hell of a lot of funding from the Neo-Ottoman Empire.
Mm-hmm. And such. Still got to keep an eye on them.
Now, that would be an interesting conflict if it ever broke out.
Now, getting back
because remember, you got all the West's historical love for Israel, but we've also got Turkey and NATO.
And of course, Syria can't defend themselves, so if anyone wanted to invade them and annex them, they would not be able to stop them, which is unfortunate. But getting back to my original point, Iran, if you really want to save yourselves, like not have your military even more destroyed, not have your nuclear stuff even more destroyed, and potentially, more importantly, not have your regime overthrown, you really are just going to have to surrender. Like, right now. Surrender right now, get back into the deal with, like, no questions asked, and the fighting hopefully would stop, and maybe your regime would be safe. Just like we keep saying to Putin in the Russian Nazi state. The longer you keep fighting Ukraine, the more likely you're going to get overthrown. So if you value your life, you need to just stop. That's the end of it.
Exactly.
I know it's not fair and all that, but unfortunately life is unfair. Might does unfortunately make right, and America is the superpower, and Israel, of course, is the superpower in the area. You're just inferior to us. You can't defend yourselves, so you might as well just get out with what you can, and such. And of course, I remember dealing with a whole bunch of leftist idiots on Twitter recently comparing this to the Russo-Ukrainian war. Ukraine can actually fight back, unlike Iran and Russia's inferior.
And that'd be more... No, that'd be more Israel versus the Neo-Ottoman Empire than anything with Iran and Gaza.
Yeah.
With Iran or Gaza.
So, yeah. Just hope nothing else happens with this and America stays out. But, of course, I want to also point out how MAGA and all the idiot MAGA fuckers have fully flipped on this. Because remember the claim for like a whole year plus people leading up to the election, Trump is the pro-peace candidate and all that. Kamala and Biden will get us into war and all that. Even though Trump did so many things that almost got us into war, people. Let me point out again, let's see, because I can't remember all the lists. He was aggressive to potentially consider doing war with Mexico, Venezuela, Russia, Syria, and of course attacked, did the missile strikes in Syria multiple times. Yeah. Iran, of course, with killing Soleimani, remember.
Exactly, yeah.
Considered almost staying in Iraq longer. China, North Korea. I feel like there's some more, but won't come to my head. Like, Trump is a warmonger. That's not even including doing the exact same things now, but also with Canada, Greenland, and Guam in a Panama Canal. Like, he's an imperialist and a warmonger. Stop denying reality, people. But now, of course, as I expected from Trumpsters, all the people are acting like, Trump is pro-peace and all that. Now Trump's threatening war with everyone, of course. Now, of course, they defend it fervently all of a sudden. And it's also leading to a really funny thing on Twitter, where maybe some of the not actual brainwashed Trumpsters are now mad at Trump for being who he actually is and all that, and now they're being told they're not actual MAGA and all that. It's hilarious. They're purity testing each other right now.
You can also remember that a lot of the MAGA that are still super brainwashed are now jumping all the way and calling flat out for World War III with China.
and such like that. Oh, and you know what
I
else?
will remind you, I did read a few reports that Bibi Netanyahu has actually contemplated starting World War III by mass bombing China.
Why would he want to even do that? That doesn't even make sense. But hey, he's an idiot, so I wouldn't be so surprised.
He wants to keep these wars good. I'll put it simply. He wants to keep these wars going as long as possible because he goes to fucking jail if these things end. It's the only thing keeping him out of jail.
Can someone just put him, Trump, Pootler, and Pooh Bear G out of their existence, please? It would be a lot safer place, people. Like, come on. Freaking ridiculous. And that finally gets to my last point about the war. Hey, Kyle, I'm getting a little annoyed about your hyperbolic stuff recently on it. It's been so bad about the war that I almost never want to watch your videos covering this because you're getting a little silly and all that. Like, freaking, he did a, video recently about how if America invaded Iran, it would be the end of America and all that. Did you see that video?
Oh. I mean, at worst, it would just accelerate. And we're already headed for the end of America. Headed for the end of the world. And at this point, the worst thing to do is just accelerate it for America.
Like, Kyle, America is not going to be, like, destroyed and all that. It'll probably be just like, unfortunately, the Iraq war, even worse and all that. But we're not going to be, like, we're not going to be obliterated and all that. Like, he was, like, implying we're going to be, like, destroyed in nuclear weapons and all that. Like, no. Just no. Especially from Iran. Either they don't have anything or they have nothing that would actually threaten us. Like, stop being a little bit ridiculous. And then, there was another video he covered where, he said that, Pakistan would use nuclear weapons on Israel if they did nuclear weapons on Iran and such. But apparently he didn't read the entire article like I did or saw the cover. It implied only in like self-defense or something like that. He was implying if they did an attack on Iran, Pakistan would just nuke them right then and there.
If they were going to pursue Israel, now maybe Pakistan might hit that button if Israel decides to try and pursue Israel Ultima. But
yeah, they're gonna.
Anyway, again, if Pakistan fired off a nuke, then the entire rest of Pakistan will be blown into the street.
India.
Probably take Afghanistan with it as well.
Oh, Kyle, you do forget India, right? You really think Pakistan?
And yes,
is gonna...
Modi can. And yes, Modi. I can see Modi doing that.
Like, you really think Pakistan's going to throw their nukes at Israel and get everyone mad at them when they have India on their doorstep that could probably wipe them out with no effort? Like, come on, Kyle. Especially read the article because it said only, like, in specific defensive needs and all that. Like, the hyperbolicness is getting, like, really annoying to the point where I can't even watch his, like, some of his foreign policy stuff now. It's getting really annoying. So, yeah, we've been covering this enough already. What do you guys say about the Iran-Israeli war breaking out? What do you gotta say?
I'm gonna say it now. I mean, baby Netanyahu's doing anything he can to keep himself out of jail, so this isn't a surprise.
And stay out, Trump. You hear me?
Make that abundantly clear. Stay out completely. And also, people, don't act like Iran's fully innocent. They're not. They have just as guilty in a lot of ways as Israel is. Let's try to keep objective, people. Just because you don't want to hear. And also, I think a lot of it, too, is, especially with Kyle, just being American Diabolist, and honestly, probably Israeli Diabolist, too. Like, hating Israel to the point where, like, any, like, criticism against them, I mean, anything against them, eat up just like that. And all. Have you noticed that, too?
Yes, I've noticed that as well.
You can be against Israel and American policy and all that, but let's not get, like, so ridiculous that we, defend people that are doing bad things like you did with the Houthis last year, Kyle, remember? And all that. Like, there's a limit to this, people. You need to have a perspective on it. It's not that hard. Jeez. So, we'll keep an eye on it, but hopefully Trump will be smart and not be a freaking idiot and stay out of it. Final thing too, he actually did approve plans of America to do the strikes on the Iran nuclear facility. However, he's trying to hold off as long as possible.
2 weeks.
Yeah, and it's just like with the Russia-Ukraine war. 2 weeks will probably be another 2 weeks. He's like flip-flopping back and forth and all that. So, seems like maybe he doesn't possibly want to be involved. Which, hey, if that's true, then absolutely encourage him to stay out as much as possible. Tell everyone tell Trump to stay out. Because, oh yeah, if you do go in, they'll also kill your Poles and Republicans for like the next several elections. Which, hey, good for us, but I still don't want no war with Iran if avoidable, people. So yeah, I think we've beaten that topic to death now. Let's get back on to the next topic to make us angry that you brought up.
Georgia's cruel abortion laws, basically keeping a woman a zombie, keeping a woman as a zombie. I'm not joking. She was literally
Brain
undead.
dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. When you're brain dead, you're dead. Like, there's no coming back from brain death. So she's literally undead.
Yeah,
literally like a zombie.
Yeah,
and they were using they were using machines to artificially keep the body circulating to, like, they did a technological form of necromancy.
Yeah, it actually just happened recently, because I actually read this, and it was actually posted on Ask Conservatives, where, of course, they were making excuses justifying it and all that such, of course, because they're pathetic crap and all that. But this happened recently, from what I read up. In Georgia, there was a woman who was dead and all that, but she was pregnant, and they tried to keep her body alive for like 10 weeks or so they could do a C-section on her to keep her baby alive and such. And they did that recently. She's dead and all that now. But the baby, of course, since it's malnourished and all that, because, you know, not getting the nutrients you need with your mother being dead for months and all that, the baby, I think it was like only a pound, weighed like a pound, and had like a 50-50 chance of even surviving. And even if it did survive, it would have probably severe physical and mental disabilities and all that, to the point of, why? Even if you kept it alive, its life's going to be so miserable, and all that, it probably wouldn't have been worth it. It was just stupid. Absolutely stupid. So you want to read the report?
Yep. I need to find it. It won't take long. Here we go.
It's on general and read to watch.
The baby of a dead woman, her body kept running by doctors concerned they might breach the states of Georgia's heartbeat abortion laws, has been delivered in the US. Weighing 538 grams, baby Chance was born via cesarean section on June 13 and swiftly taken to the neonatal intensive care unit where he remains. His mother, Adriana Smith, was then taken off life support. What started out as a story of a young mother experiencing heart headaches rapidly became international news, and the latest example of the consequences of laws applied by US states in the wake of Roe v. Wade protections being overturned. So how did this happen? The 30-year-old mother and nurse was about 9 weeks into the pregnancy with her second child when she began to experience headaches. Her mother, April Newkirk, told local news outlets she was denied a CT scan and returned home. She woke the next day gasping for air and making gurgling sounds. Her boyfriend called 911 and she was taken to hospital where she was diagnosed with brain clots. She rapidly deteriorated and within hours, she was dead. Smith's family was told by the hospital that she would need to be kept on life support to preserve her pregnancy until they could deliver the fetus due to Georgia's law that applies personally to any fetus whose heartbeat can be medically detected.
Which is why it's stupid, people.
Basically, she was a zombie at this point. They had to do technological necromancy until the fetus was born.
They were too afraid to
3 months later, Miss Newkirk told local media seeing her daughter kept breathing with machines was like torture. She said that her family visited her daughter regularly with her 5-year-old son. Miss Newkirk told local news station 11 Alive that the family wanted the baby, but the choice should have been up to them, not the state. This week also marked what would have been Adriana Smith's 31st birthday. Family and community members gathered at a church in Atlanta for a rally in celebration of her life where they cut out a birthday cake for her and released white balloons. Baby Chance is fighting. Prior to Chance's birth, there were major concerns for his health. Miss Newkirk told local news network WXIA that doctors told the family the fetus had fluid on his brain. She also shared concerns he would be born with vision loss and wouldn't be able to work.
Again, people, what was the point of doing all that? Keep bringing someone to life whose life
baby,
should be worth.
if chance survives.
Yeah, that's another thing too. It's like a 50-50 chance.
Life is fucked.
Yeah,
its life is gonna be extremely painful, torturous, and probably and almost certainly short.
Like, was it really worth it, all that? And I was trying to say...
because Republicans being super misogynist
and evil.
Don't care about the life of the woman. They feed us... Yeah, because the born baby become children they can molest, and then they become dead soldiers.
Yep. And as I was trying to say, the reason why this happened is because they were afraid to let her die because they were afraid they were going to get sued or whatever, or shut down because you allowed a baby to die and all that.
There was going to be, or the hospital was going to be bombed or shot up in a terrorist attack.
Oh God, Ask Conservatives on Reddit was coping really hard about this stupid thing too. They were making so many excuses on it. It was so pathetic and really infuriating. Hey, I guess they're happy they banned me from there, so I can't rip them a new asshole. But yeah, this is
keep their safe space intact.
Mm-hmm. Like conservative Reddit. But yeah, this is absolutely unacceptable, and all that. Oh, God.
The hospital, Emory Healthcare, told the Associated Press it could not comment on an individual case because of privacy rules, but released a statement saying it uses consensus from clinical experts, medical literature, and legal guidance to support our providers as they make individualized treatment recommendations in compliance with Georgia's abortion laws and all other applicable laws. Our top priority continue to be the safety and well-being of the patients we serve. Bullshit.
This all would have been avoided, people. This would all be avoided if Roe v. Wade wasn't repealed, people. This all would have been avoided because this heartbeat law wouldn't be allowed and all that. Which is why
it shouldn't have been repealed.
Haven't we made it screaming loud and clear for 3 years now, people? And we're going to keep bringing up these horrible abortion stories, showing you why abortion being banned across the country is a terrible idea. Because this is reprehensible and evil. It's so infuriating.
Georgia's Republican Governor Brian Kemp signed a near-total abortion ban in the state in 2019. The law, which also defines a person to include an unborn child, was blocked before it took effect because it violated the right to abortion established by the Supreme Court in Roe v. Wade. And when that law was overturned in 2022, it cleared the way for the state law to immediately take effect. The Georgia law bans all abortions once a detectable human heartbeat is present. Cardiac activity can be detected by ultrasound in cells within an embryo as early as 6 weeks into a pregnancy before many women realize they are pregnant.
They're just stupid if they don't know it.
As long as a police report is filed. It also provides for later abortions when the mother's life is at risk or a serious medical condition renders the fetus unviable. That does, as you see there, that did not apply because technically both of those two were met. The mother's life was at risk. She was literally dying. And the fetus is potentially unviable.
But they don't care, as we know, people. Because we all know it's just coping excuses. So yeah, absolutely evil.
Monica Simpson, executive director of Sister Song, the lead plaintiff in a lawsuit challenging Georgia's abortion law, told the Associated Press in May the situation was problematic. Her family deserved the right to have a decision-making power about her medical decisions, Ms. Simpson said in a statement. Instead, they have endured over 90 days of re-traumatization, expensive medical costs, and the cruelty of being unable to resolve and move to healing. In May, General Attorney General Chris Carr released a statement saying that Georgia's 6-week law does not require medical professionals to keep women alive on life support after being declared brain dead. Removing life support is not an action with the purpose to terminate a pregnancy, Mr. Carr's spokesperson, Cara Murray, said in a statement. Thaddeus Pope, a bioethicist and lawyer at Michelle Hamline School of Law in St. Paul, Minnesota, said while a few states have laws that specifically limit removing treatment from a pregnant woman who is alive but incapacitated or brain dead, Georgia isn't one of them. Removing the woman's mechanical ventilation or other support will not constitute an abortion. Continued treatment is not legally required. But Georgia State Senator Ed Seltzer, a Republican who sponsored the 2019 law, said he supported Amori's interpretation. I think it's completely appropriate that the hospital do what they can to save the life of the child. I think this is an unusual circumstance, but I think it highlights the value of innocent human life. I think the hospital is acting appropriately.
Sure, pal,
as opposed to the innocent human life of the woman who is dying. Probably, possibly because of it.
But you know they don't care
A similar
about that.
case took place in Texas 10 years ago when a dead woman was kept undead for about 2 months because she was pregnant. A judge eventually ruled that the hospital was misapplying state law and life support was removed. Georgia's abortion ban has been in the spotlight before. Last year, ProPublica reported that 2 Georgia women died after they did not get proper medical treatment for complications for taking abortion pills. The stories of Amber Thurman and Candy Miller entered in the presidential race, with Democrat Kamala Harris saying the deaths were the result of the abortion bans that went into effect in Georgia and elsewhere once Roe v. Wade had been overturned.
Again, people, all could be avoided if Roe v. Wade wasn't overturned. It's evil and unacceptable, and we're going to keep bringing up shit like this until Roe v. Wade is brought back or every state has legal abortion again. And we will not shove about because we are right and you are all wrong. How about that one? Ha 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 ha! Get wrecked every time, fuckers. Alright, so now if that's out of the way, can we maybe find a story that's actually happy for us to laugh at potentially?
We've still got a way to go before that, unfortunately, because it's Margaret defending terrorism.
Of course. So, this happened recently. Not much coverage because everyone's too busy about the Iran-Israeli war. But recently, a violent MAGA terrorist piece of shit killed a Democrat politician in Minnesota recently. And of course, the right fervently tried to make excuses about it, as they always do. Because conservatives do not believe in personal responsibility, people. They always defend bad people doing bad things, as always. So yeah, let's watch this.
All right, y'all, so let me walk you through the anatomy of a right-wing disinformation campaign. This is truly incredible just how much they lied relentlessly in the wake
I mean,
of
Kyle, I
a
could say
terror
somewhat
attack in
about
Minnesota
that with you with
against
the
Democratic
Iran-Israeli war.
lawmakers.
You're not
And it
being
really
fully
goes to show
honest
you
on it.
that this is psychological warfare. This is information warfare. They will lie on purpose, loudly and aggressively
Well,
and
we know
shamelessly
Republicans
to
always
try
lie.
to flip the narrative and
That's
get it
their
in their
existence.
favor. So, as you all know, multiple Democratic lawmakers were shot a few days ago, and including their spouses. So one of those Democrats was a Democratic leader in Minnesota who helped usher through a whole bunch of big reforms and a bunch of big W's for the state of Minnesota. She was killed. Her spouse was killed. Then one other Democratic lawmaker was shot, and his spouse was shot. Those two, I believe, survived. Okay? So for a while, they couldn't catch the guy who did it. But eventually, they just did. Like earlier today, they just caught the guy. But let me walk you through this.
And I can't wait for Trump
look
to
at this
pardon
here.
him.
This is a picture of the gunman, the terrorist, who shot 2 Minnesota lawmakers. He was wearing a latex mask and captured on a security camera. So this is like something straight out of a horror movie, as you can see. I mean, he's dressed like a cop. He's got like a cop vest on. You can see the sirens in the background, the lights in the background on his like look-alike cop vehicle. By the way, we found out the reason he was able to get this stuff is because he's basically like a mercenary security guy, and he's worked overseas. Very sketchy guy with very sketchy connections, by the way. But all that stuff was available to him because it's basically his job. So he dressed up like a cop, pulled up in a fake cop car, murdered Democratic politicians. This is what it looked like. Absolutely horrifying stuff. So,
and Republicans fervently
information
defended
came out pretty quickly about this guy. So here's one example. Here's a news outlet talking about his political affiliation. This shouldn't be all that surprising because he just tried to murder multiple Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota. But here we go.
We even asked about Mr. Bolter's political affiliations, and David Carlson, once again his roommate and best friend, known him since 4th grade, did say Bolter voted for Trump and that he was a strong supporter.
I am just so shocked that the guy who tried to murder and do a terror attack against multiple Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota, turns out he's right-wing. Who'd have thunk it? All right, wait for it, because I'm going to show you
because the right,
how the right is
inherently
twisting
violent,
everything
people.
and trying to spin everything to desperately get a victory for themselves out of this, which is fucking incomprehensible. So here's the roommate of the Minnesota shooter. Here's what he has to say.
Talk about his politics a little bit. I know that you had some discussions of some of
Well, everyone's calling him a Democrat. He's not a Democrat. He would be offended if people called him a Democrat.
He would be offended if people called him a Democrat. So this guy's even seeing the right-wing chatter online, and he's going, he's not a fucking Democrat. He'd be offended if you called him a Democrat.
But he, because of this board thing he was on for Governor Walz, it wasn't to serve. He was just serving the community. But
Oh yeah, this is one of the copes that Trumpsters kept saying, he's a liberal because Tim Walz put him on some government board and all that. If you, I haven't really paid attention. I'm sure Kyle will cover that in a bit, but even if he did, that doesn't disprove anything, people.
I can't believe a political issue would cause him to do such a thing.
Did he ever bring up the senator or the representative who were targeted?
Like I say, no, he never talked about that. I didn't know. I didn't recognize her.
Any politicians he mentioned?
He mentioned Nancy Pelosi. He didn't like Jim Walz. Tim Walz didn't like.
Hated Nancy Pelosi and Tim Walz. Didn't like Joe Biden. This is what this guy's saying.
How can you hate base Uncle Walz?
Tim Walz? What would you say about him? Well, I mean, it's because he's sick of getting 500 million damage.
Well, get good at Pokemon then, people.
Just normal.
Don't play like furry retard, you won't lose.
Did he mention the protests that were planned for yesterday?
He never mentioned the protests.
What do you make of everything that's happened here? And the fact
Maybe
that
I mentioned it to him, but I don't think he mentioned anything about it.
What would you tell him?
I would tell him to surrender himself so he could be taken alive.
This was before he was caught. He actually did get caught after this.
He's like my best friend, so I don't want him to be killed. I don't want him to kill anyone else, you know. So I think if I saw him, I could talk him down. But I don't know what he is.
And did he listen to any particular podcasts or TV shows or anything online that concerns you?
Well, you listen to InfoWars.
Oh my God. He listened to InfoWars with Alex Jones. He listened to InfoWars.
InfoWars, but I kind of told us that, well, it's like 50% truth. You know, I kind of said, don't take everything what they say for granted. I wasn't a real truthful. I mean, they're on for some things, but some things are way off on.
Did he talk much about Trump? And what did he say if so?
I was a Trump supporter. Voted for Trump. You like Trump? I like Trump.
All right, now ready for this? Because of these political assassinations, these murders, this terror attack, this MAGA terror attack against Democratic politicians, ready for this? The Republicans have now gained a majority in Minnesota's House by political assassination.
Wow.
By the way, this Democratic lawmaker who he killed, this is what she helped usher through along with Governor Tim Walz. Universal free school, breakfast and lunch for kids. Universal legal weed, I should say. Carbon-free electricity by 2040. Tax rebates for the working class up to $1,300. 12 weeks paid
but you
paid
see,
family
Kyle,
leave, 12 weeks
we
paid
don't
sick leave,
like those
banned
policies
conversion
that are
therapy,
based to
red
make
flag laws for
everyone's
guns,
life
universal
better. We
background
want
checks for
people
guns,
to die.
automatic voter registration, free public college, a ban on forever
for
chemicals,
billionaires,
over $2
and we
billion
want to
increase in
wipe out
elementary school to high
minorities.
school funding, sectoral
Because you're
bargaining
bad
for
at
nursing home
Pokemon.
workers. Massive
Those
W's for the
bad
state of Minnesota,
people.
making them a social democratic utopia. And how are they repaid for their service to
And
the
we
community?
hate women.
Murdered by a right-wing terrorist. All right, so we also got video of this guy. Ready? Vance Bolter is his name. Listen to what... So this guy, like I said, private mercenary security guy, also traveled around the world as a fundamentalist evangelical Christian preacher. Here he is, overseas, and look at what he's talking about.
So there's no sin.
Et il n'y a aucun péché
That God can't take care
que
of.
Dieu ne peut pas enlever.
Nothing.
Il n'y a rien.
There's people, especially in America,
Il y a des gens, particulièrement aux États-Unis,
they don't know what sex they are. They don't know how their sexual orientation. They're confused.
ils ne savent pas ce qu'ils sont exactement, ils ont une confusion.
The enemy has gotten so far into their mind and their soul.
Et l'ennemi est entré dans le fond de leur pensée et de leur âme.
But this word
Mais cette parole
cuts deeper
va aux profondeurs
because it's living.
parce qu'elle est vivante
And it's active.
et elle est agissante.
And God goes down there and pulls that out.
Elle peut entrer dans notre cœur et enlever tout ce qui est de mal.
And he sets every person free.
Does that sound like a left-winger to you? Does that sound like a socialist?
That sounds
Does
like
that
an
sound like a
unbased
liberal
Ayaka.
ranting against trans people with a fundamentalist preacher ideology? I mean, this is the most open and shut case I've ever seen. The Minnesota shooter was an anti-abortion extremist who had a list of nearly 70 names, including abortion providers, pro-choice advocates, and lawmakers such as Tim Walz, Ilhan Omar, Tina Smith, and Keith Ellison. The list literally had only Democrats on it. Only Democrats. So the alleged suspect not only had a manifesto which listed dozens of Democrats and only Democrats as his targets, but is a hardcore evangelical and supporter of the Alliance Defending Freedom, which is the ultra-Christian nationalist legal organization that funds anti-abortion regulation, advocates for religion in public schools, thinks the Constitution should be interpreted through God's law, and opposes gay marriage. He runs an armed security company, which is why he would have access to a vehicle identical to a police car with emergency lights, gear, and uniform like that of a police officer, and a taser and a handgun. He served on the board of some local work investment charities, was one of many private representatives on a governor's work board, and represented many international orgs who did outreach work, usually religious or business developments, in Africa until 2019, and then seems to have been abruptly removed from multiple positions. Clearly a right-wing nut targeting Democrats and protesters. More. Suspect in Minnesota killings has quite the bio listed on his security company, Praetorian Guard Security Services. By the way, this guy has weird connections to Blackwater and Eric Prince, the ultra-Christian nationalist mercenary who did a lot of dirty work in Iraq during the war on terror, and they did war crimes against innocent people in Iraq.
Like the shooting in 2007, people remember that.
Nisour Square massacre. And by the way, Trump went on
for pardoning those fuckers.
Give those people pardons, the people who massacred civilians from Blackwater in Iraq. This guy's got weird connections to those kinds of people. All right, more. Mike Lee says, this is what happened when Marxists don't get their way. Oh my God. This is what happens when Marxists don't get their way. And it's a picture of the right-wing terrorist who murdered Democrats.
Anyone that
these people
Democrats
have no fucking chance. So I replied to him and I said, this right-wing terrorist murdered Minnesota Democrats, is a registered Republican, supported Trump, is a fundamentalist Christian, is an anti-abortion extremist.
Just like the person that tried to kill Trump last year, people remember, was a Republican.
And I said Mike Lee is a demented, vile, lying cretin. He should be censured and forced to resign for what he said there. But he's not done. He's got more for us. Nightmare on Wall Street. By the way, he spelled Walls wrong. It's Tim Walz, W-A-L-Z. He puts W-A-L-T-Z.
How can you not
a fucking idiot. But he's making a joke. Nightmare on Wall Street. He's making a joke. After Democratic lawmakers got murdered in cold blood by a MAGA terrorist in Minnesota. He's joking around about it. So I said, you're a disgusting terrorist-supporting fascist cunt. Mike Lee needs to resign. Mike Lee needs to be censured by the Senate. There's no place for this in the United States of America. You have MAGA terrorists doing MAGA terrorism, murdering Democrats, and you think it's funny? You think it's a laughing matter?
Because the right always thinks it's funny.
You think it's cute, the things you're saying? Are you ready for this, guys? So the media is culpable in doing psychological warfare on the American people and spreading disinformation and lying to try to confuse everybody about what this terrorist really was. Ready? Look at this. This was a headline from Mediaite. Breaking, suspect ID'd in killing of Minnesota Dems is former Walz appointee. Hold on now. So if you know nothing else and you read this headline, which by the way, most people only see the fucking headlines, right? If you know nothing and you just read the headlines, what's your takeaway from that headline?
Kyle, like you with the Pakistan nuking Israel thing I mentioned earlier?
You're going to go, well, hold on, that's weird. That sounds like Democrat on Democrat violence. Yeah. It sounds like some Democrat was mad at other Democrats for some unknown reason and murdered them. That's the point of this headline. They want to confuse you. They want to obfuscate. They want to deflect. They want to raise doubt. They want to give some plausible deniability where people go, maybe it was a right-winger, maybe it was a Democrat. They were appointed by Tim Walz. So let me reiterate, this is psychological warfare. Information warfare.
This is
they are lying and lying aggressively and on purpose to try to muddy the waters and confuse you about the fact that now we have right-wing terrorists all over this country doing right-wing terrorism. Shame on them. Media should fire whoever wrote this fucking article. But I'm not done, right? So here we go. BNO News reported, no Kings flyers found in a car of gunmen who shot Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota. Police are asking the public to cancel demonstrations across Minnesota today. The suspect is still at large. So a bunch of right-wingers saw that this guy had no Kings flyers in his car. And you know what the right-wingers took away from that? Oh, that was him showing support for the No Kings protest. No, this was found next to a fucking kill list. Obviously what he's saying is, I want to kill No Kings protesters too. But they took this fact and they mangled it and they twisted it and they lied about it and they used it to try to pretend this was a far lefty who was murdering Democrats for not being left enough. Oh my God. The dishonesty is so fucking immense, y'all. It is so fucking immense. This is the other bullshit lie the right is running with. Colin Rugg, this hack propagandist prick, he says, report shortly before Minnesota Representative Melissa Hortman was shot and killed, she broke down in tears in front of cameras after siding with Republicans. Hortman was the lone Democrat who voted to cut healthcare access for adult illegal immigrants. So the right uses this to say, oh, she sided with Republicans on one vote, therefore this was a far lefty who killed her for doing that, or an immigrant who killed her for doing that. Except that narrative immediately falls apart because the other Democratic lawmaker that this guy shot voted the other way on that. But they don't care. They know they're lying. They don't care. They're literally reaching for anything they can to try to make an argument. This
and
wasn't
likewise,
us.
they would
This
still
wasn't
say
us.
they're for
And the
open
reason they're
borders,
trying to deflect
remember?
and say it wasn't us is because they want this shit to continue. If they know, oh shit, our rhetoric, our policies, everything we say, everything we do, logically leads to violence, they're not going to look in the mirror and try to change who they are and become more moderate and become more centrist and become more reasonable. So if you just deflect and obfuscate and lie and blame the other side when this is clearly terrorism from the right, well then the violence can keep going and your conscience can feel just fine. So here's the loathsome cretin Mike Cernovich. He says, did Tim Walz have her executed to send a message? Oh my God. Oh my fucking God. Those two work together on so many fucking things. They got so many wins.
No idea.
And Tim Walz was literally on the murder list. You fucking charlatan scumbag. You vile, demented cretin. Tim Walz says, the most consequential speaker in state history. Says,
Karen
and your friend
Loomer.
murdered her. Hopefully you are investigated, as Evan says. He literally never met him. He literally never met him. This position that this guy was appointed to is a total bullshit business board thing that it's like mandatory to have Democrats and Republicans on it. Tim Walz never met the guy. When you're a governor, you got to fill a quadrillion positions. He was like, yeah, whatever, give that guy that thing. It's fine. Never met him. Never knew him. Put him on this
all
nothing
this to
side
try
thing
and
that
keep
doesn't matter
Walz
about
in
anything.
2020 people because they
And the
know
right
he's
is
going to
trying
win
to
with no
use that
problem.
like this is a far leftist or a Democrat killing other Democrats. This is fucking unbelievable. Alex Jones says, Minnesota shooting reveals Democrat domestic terror. You disgusting son of a bitch. This asshole literally listened to your show.
Can you go back? Can you go back to crying about their turn the freaking frogs gay instead of this crap, please?
He went on to murder Democratic lawmakers, and he listens to your show, and he supports you, and he supports Trump, and he supports MAGA. And you're trying to blame this on Democrats? Alex Jones is a loathsome son of a bitch. Alex Jones has no shame.
All these people
no
are
shame
loathsome.
whatsoever. What a complete
Because the
lying
right
hack.
is
And again, he
loathsome.
knows he's lying. You think Alex Jones hasn't heard that this guy listened to his show, and that this guy was a registered Republican, and that this guy loved Trump, and that this guy was an anti-abortion extremist and a Christian fundamentalist? You think he doesn't know that? He fucking knows it. Cat Turd says, he worked for Tim Walz, but he's a Republican. He's mocking the idea that this guy was right-wing, even though all the evidence says he was...
Guys, you do know bipartisan appointments also happen too, you know.
Obviously right-wing. I love this response. Tim Walz must answer for the crimes of the man who tried to murder Tim Walz. So remember, the list of people he had to murder was literally all Democrats. The list included Ilhan Omar, U.S. Senator Tina Smith, Governor Tim Walz, Keith Ellison, dozens of other Democrats from Minnesota. Absolutely fucking incredible how low these people go. Now, understand something, guys. Understand something. This video that I'm about to play for you here, this was the goal of those lying right-wing cretins engaged in psychological warfare and a disinformation campaign. This was their goal. So now you got this jackass going on CNN, and here's what he says about the shooting.
It's a very confusing motive because this guy was appointed to a political position by Tim Walz. So now he's attacking Democrats. So you have to try to figure out where he is with a lot of confusing different messages.
So do you see what they succeeded at doing? Because they're so relentless, they're so aggressive, they all get on the same page immediately, they all spread all the disinformation at the same time, they do a full court press, they're always 24/7 redlining in the direction they want to go. Because of that, now, these mealy-mouthed fucking centrists in the middle who don't know their ass from their elbow and don't really follow politics closely, oh, I don't know, it's kind of confusing. Some people say it's right-wing, some people say it's left-wing. Oh, it's hard to sort of figure this all. Are you fucking kidding me? Murdered Minnesota Democrats, had a list of all Democrats to murder, is a registered Republican, supported Trump, fundamentalist Christian, anti-abortion extremist, listened to InfoWars, loved InfoWars, linked to fucking Blackwater, the Christian nationalist mercenary army psychopaths, and you don't know what his politics are? No, the right are shameless. You will not be able to grow politically until you finally come to terms with the fact that this whole movement is based on evil, violence, and relentless lies. That's what the far right is in this country. That's what MAGA is in this country. I've never seen a clearer example in my life. And this story, which I'm walking you through right now, is actually probably the most important story we covered today. I know we just talked about literal war with Iran and Israel, but this might be the most important story today, because once you realize they're willing to lie this much, this brazenly, this shamelessly about this, they're willing to do it about fucking everything. Everything.
Of course.
They will never
Which is why
hold
they
an
need to
L.
be
They will
kicked off
never
of social media.
admit they were wrong, ever.
Absolutely.
Wake up to that fact and realize the idea of compromise or bipartisanship or negotiations or holding hands and singing Kumbaya with these fucks is off the fucking table.
You accept progressive values, and that's the end of it.
The fact that they're willing to go this low means they'll go as low as humanly possible. There is no bottom to that barrel, and this should make it perfectly clear to you. Hey, y'all, do me a favor.
We've been saying forever, people. You make fun of them every time. So, yeah, what do you guys see about that? Of course, no surprise, conservatives murdering Democrats, as they always do.
It's surprising.
And all the cope they did.
These bastards would do this. Of course! That's what they've got. They're doing. They're gonna bang everything.
You people need to realize, Republicans and conservatives watching, your ideology sucks, your belief sucks, and you're inherently violent. Drop the bullshit and be progressive. That's the end of it.
Yep.
So now, on to the next topic.
And that'll be Andy Bresher destroys transphobic arguments.
Finally, something funny to watch. My goodness, about time. So yeah, Andy Bresher. Also, thank you, Andy, for doing this. You made my view of you for 2028 much better doing this. Andy Bresher, of course, Kentucky's Democrat governor. Yep, they have a Democrat governor, and he's pretty based, especially in this interview where he destroyed transphobic arguments with literally no effort, as well as we would do and all that, and it was a beautiful, glorious sight. So let's go watch this. Based Andy.
All right, guys, this clip right here is awesome. This truly is phenomenal. So we have the governor of Kentucky, Andy Bresher. He is doing an interview here, and the reporter is going to try to nail him on basically culture war slop. So as you all know, this is the oldest trick in the book. The right has done it forever. Divide and conquer among regular people so that the rich can run out the back door with all the money. This is what they do. They want to make regular people, care more about abortion or gay rights or trans rights or racial issues. Focus on that so you fight among yourselves while we serve the mega wealthy and the corporations and do whatever they want. Give them whatever they want, rig the system however they want, and you guys just fight among each other. I mean, this is what they do, right? And so Andy Bresher is going to be presented with a very stupid question about, hey, haven't the Democrats alienated people on social issues? And look at how he masterfully doesn't take the bait and dissects that answer and flips it right back on the reporter. This is amazing. Let's watch.
A few more questions here. I want to go back to Senator Webb. Does she have a point, though? Has the Democratic Party, at least some, alienated some rural Kentuckians?
No.
Well, I certainly hope that rural Kentuckians would be alienated by a $300 million cut in food that's going to make more rural Kentuckians go hungry.
I don't think that's the controversy, though.
17 million people.
It should be the
that are going to be cut
controversy.
from their health care, including in rural Kentucky. So you can say, has the National Democratic Party alienated folks, but look at what the National Republican Party is trying to do right now. It's going to hurt people. It's going to cost lives. And I hope that the Senate on both sides
using 500 billion
probably
damage.
Referencing more of the social issues, though.
Exactly.
Do you think she has a point there?
But don't you think if she's just referencing a National Democratic Party, she should also have to reckon with what the National Republican Party is doing? Let's see, social issues.
Yeah, because they always ignore what
Republicans
Republicans
do. The ability to see a doctor, how much you make in your job, the impact of tariffs, whether or not when you're down on your luck, you'll have enough to eat. I'd like to think that those are the core values that we should be putting first.
That outweighs some of the other issues in most voters' minds.
It should.
He owned him so hard that the reporter flipped at the end. He's like,
Oh,
yeah, I
what
guess
a
that should
beautiful
outweigh
sight
the
that
other
was.
issue.
Base,
No shit.
Shuckle, Bresher.
You're going bankrupt from because of medical bills? Yeah, maybe that should have been on top of mind when you decide who you're going to fucking vote for, right? Instead of hating the trans person that lives 2 blocks over or whatever the fuck.
Get the fuck over it, people.
I mean, this
trans
is how it's
rights
done,
are
bro.
human rights. Get
Why can't
over it
it's so
already.
easy to do that. Why can't every fucking Democrat do that? I don't understand. It's the easiest thing in the world. Like, oh, you want to talk about divisive issues politically? How about kicking over 10 million people off of Medicaid? Low-income people,
How about
disabled
trying to
people.
start an
That'll
illegal
lead,
war
by the
like
way,
with
to
Iran recently?
51,000 deaths, as a new report indicated the other day. Why are we not talking about that? Isn't that divisive? Isn't that alienating people?
Imagine
hey, I
crying
want you to
about
go bankrupt
trans
from your
people.
medical
How
bills, or
sad
I
are
want you
you
to not
all?
get the care you need at all and maybe die. Isn't that divisive? Isn't that, something that goes too far and alienates voters? When you destroy the entire social safety net, when Doge slashes pediatric cancer research and Meals on Wheels, isn't that a little more important? Isn't that maybe the most important thing? That everything that makes this country good, everything that makes the government functional is being destroyed? They slashed 50% of the Social Security offices. And you're asking me about a trans volleyball player on the middle school team? What is wrong with you?
Boo-hoo!
And by the way, look, I love his answer here, but I'm going to say
trans women want to play
we're
sports.
Also right
Boo-hoo!
It's just
Steve
true.
Mall.
The basic position on the social issues, which is the only position that makes sense, is we want equality and justice and freedom for everybody. And they start out, the Republicans love to start out by talking about, oh my God.
Which you guys claim to be, but you're actually against.
The genital mutilation of children through trans stuff. This is what they say.
Sure, pal.
And then you blink, and the next day you read the news, and what happens? In Texas, they tried to make it a crime for anybody to be trans, including
I wanted to cover it, but there's so much other stuff coming up. Texas is trying to make being trans illegal, which is absolutely pathetic.
It will be considered criminal fraud. If you're a trans person and you try
there's a massive, concentration camp being built in, starting to build it in Georgia, giant prison. And there's a part of me that suspects that this will be the Auschwitz of America.
But we're not, us on the right, we're not Nazis.
Change your driver's license from male to female or female to male. That is fraud, and you can go to prison.
We learned it from Daddy Pootler.
So,
and Pooh Bear
by the way, I'm also not backing down a fucking inch when it comes to those social issues. We will protect the immigrant community.
Kyle, you said you won't back down on him. Remember years ago when people kept calling Kyle a class reductionist and saying he was going to fuck over LGBT rights when I kept insisting he wouldn't? Oh, well, would you look at that, people? Looks like I was right again as always. How full of shit you were.
Minority communities. We will protect gay people and LGBTQ people, trans people. We will protect them because they haven't done shit wrong. They're just trying to live their lives and be treated fairly. And the whole Republican project is, we want to scapegoat you and blame you for the problems that other people are experiencing, even though you didn't cause said problems. So it's just...
stop crying about
It's about
trans
time people wake the fuck up. We're looking at a scenario.
They're just wanting to live in their life.
Baron coup
live life.
And a fascist takeover happening literally right in front of our eyes. Cuts to healthcare.
God forbid I help a trans writer on Reddit recently stuck trying to pick up a story.
No more due process, locking up innocent people, sending people to a concentration camp in El Salvador. Yeah. If we are not putting that front and center, then we are missing it. You understand what I'm saying? And so they could whine and yelp and moan and bitch all they want about immigrants or trans people and try to muck up some fake social issues garbage. But number one, I'm going to fight them on that head on. And number two, I'm also going to go right back to the main story, which is exactly what Andy Bresher said here, which is, if you want to talk about divisive, let's talk about how you're destroying healthcare in this country and objectively making it worse. In Trump's first term, over 2 million people lost their health insurance because of his policies. And again, we're going to talk about a trans kid on the volleyball team in middle school. Fuck off, bro. Fuck off. So it's time to go on the offense, Democrats. This is what the idea.
Well, in order to do that, Kyle,
we
need to have no Democrats from the East and West Coast pretty much doing anything because they make everything worse.
You should always be on the offense against them.
Only Midwest
Look at what
Dems
they're
like
doing.
Bresher and Walz could do
It's the
stuff
easiest
apparently.
opponent anybody could ever give you. They are trash. They are garbage. They are pathetic. Their whole worldview is, I'd like to make life worse for 95% of Americans. And the only ones I want to make it better for are the top 5% and only the white ones. That's their approach to politics. It's time that they get destroyed. Hey, y'all, do me a favor.
Oh, beautiful. Destroying conservatives is always a fun thing to do. So, yeah, we gotta say about Based Bresher destroying transphobes with no effort. Oh, it's so beautiful. Isn't it nice to have...
They're also destroying the turf neo-Nazis who want to put trans people in gas chambers.
He still isn't my number one pick for 2028, but if he was a nominee, I would happily vote for him now after that speech. Let's go! Awesome and all that. So now, on to the next topic.
David Portnoy crashes out.
This is going to be both very angering and very fun at the same time. But first off, do you know who Dave Portnoy is?
No.
He was the originator, basically, of... Have you ever heard of the term barstool conservatives?
Yes.
He is pretty much the founder of that ideology and such. And he just recently had a complete and epic meltdown about anti-Semitic jokes and all that. And he was shown to be a complete hypocrite, too. And it's so funny when I saw it the other day. And also infuriating, too. Because it's going to be the classic hypocrisy that you expect. And the way he's reacting, I wouldn't be surprised if he's Jewish. And, oh boy, the stuff he says, you'd both be shocked, but also not surprised at the same time. This is so funny and sad. So let's get this over with.
I saw this earlier this week, and holy...
Kyle's video?
Of Barstool Sports has been going through a bit of a legendary crash these days. I'm about to show you a couple clips from his podcast. It is genuinely astonishing to me that he doesn't see the immense contradiction here. Like, the fact that he didn't catch this about himself is mind-boggling. And believe me, you're going to agree as well. So let's start with this. Now, to be fair to Dave, he was doing some pizza review the other day. You know, what's one of the things he does is he'll go all over the place and eat pizza from various places and then rate the pizza or whatever. Barstool's like, it's a very bro-y type empire that he's created over there. And I don't watch his stuff, but I'm down with the idea of pizza reviews. I think that's kind of cool. But I think he was in Canada testing some pizza place, and somebody screamed like "fuck the Jews" or something at him. Okay, now
not cool if you say that, people. Not cool.
I think that
it's not funny either.
Maybe it was humor, but I got to be honest, that seems just like anti-Semitism.
Oh no, it's not. It doesn't seem anti-Semitic how it is.
It's like, what's the joke? There was no setup. There was no punchline. You're just saying "fuck the Jews."
Completely anti-Semitic.
Right? So.
See, unlike a lot of left, we'll go after anti-Semitism. Unlike a lot of the left who will make excuses for it.
I agree with Dave. That,
or
that's
flat
not even
out
really
be anti-Semitic.
Like, it's just somebody being an asshole
looking at you,
because
Hassan.
Dave is Jewish, right? Now, having said that, now the story gets a lot more complicated because he absolutely humiliates himself. So let's walk through it here. He's doing a podcast with
what's Hassan who got himself suspended fairly recently again.
Oh, gee, what else is new, right?
And he basically breaks down over the idea of Jew jokes, right? Basically, he seems to indicate like they shouldn't even be allowed, right? Okay, let's let
You just want me to ignore it?
Yeah. Don't tell me to shut up.
Shut the fuck up, you bald fuck.
Okay, go ahead.
How's that?
Oh, it's kill. I'll never recover from that, Dave. Go ahead, continue. I'll never recover.
Well, you're the one who big boss man, don't tell. I'll tell you work for me.
Okay, go ahead, continue.
You little bitch, you work for me.
Sure, you bet. For now,
oh, you
continue.
don't? For now, quit. I don't know. 500 grand.
Is this show or not a show? Like, is this a show or not a show? Like, we can't have a conversation?
You're an idiot.
Okay, continue.
You're literally saying people should be allowed to make Jew jokes, say whatever they want, right fucking
now.
They
can.
Yes, I think people should be allowed to make jokes.
Yeah, that's called freedom, pal. Everything is up to be joked upon. How about that one?
So how many motherfucking Jews have to be killed before you stop?
Okay.
Oh yeah, of course. Anytime anyone makes excuses at Jews' expense, it means they want them to be killed. Yeah, pal, sure.
So if you watch the full podcast too, it becomes clear. It's kind of clear from this clip, but it's clear too in the full podcast. Like, he literally thinks any sort of jokes about Jewish people are just off the table. Like, can't do it, don't do it. And, his reasoning is like, we're at an extra level of threat now. So, like, if you do it, you're sort of implicated in that. Like, you're feeding that. In the exact same podcast that he makes this argument. Listen to what he says here.
Gaza, we can do unnamed. You can be live in Gaza.
I'll jump on Greta Van Thorsten or whatever that girl. She's sailing there.
Oh, yeah. Greta Thunberg, if y'all remember her, that environmentalist that's in Sweden and such. She did a boat thing recently to transport aid to Gaza. And she and a whole bunch of others got arrested or something recently. Been thinking about wondering if we should cover that too, but now you just brought that up. Yeah, I remember that.
She's been released. They tried to make her watch a documentary on October 7th about why we need to kill all 2.3 million Gazans, and she refused to watch it.
Based.
Like, whoever that fucking, I hope they hit a fucking, like, a missile on her boat.
Well, I hope they hit a missile.
So, let's get this straight. So, it's wrong to make jokes against Jews at their expense, but you're okay with advocating violence on Greta Thunberg and whoever she was with because she supports the Palestinians? Like, see the hypocrisy, people? How is one thing bad, but the other thing, which is honestly worse, is you're advocating violence, honestly. How is that good? Like, It's obvious you're a hardcore Zionist. Like, come on.
So in the same podcast, he says, Jew jokes are just off the table because Jews are under threat right now, so therefore they got to be off the table completely. In the same podcast, he says that. He jokes about the IDF shooting a missile at Greta's aid flotilla, bringing food to starving people in Gaza. So jokes at the expense of people who are pro-Palestine and Palestinians in general, totally fine. You can joke about literally killing them and shooting a missile at them. But any Jew joke is off the table and not allowed because we're in hyper threat right now. Shit. Well, if you're in hyper threat, what about Palestinians? What about Palestinians?
They don't care.
How many people died on October 7th? What was the number? It was about 1,000, 1,200, right? And minimum 50,000 Palestinians are dead, 90% of which are innocent civilians. The real number is literally over 200,000 Palestinians are dead, by the way. So if any Jewish jokes are off the table, well, for shit sure, any Palestinian jokes need to be off the table, right? Or any Muslim jokes have to be off, right? Right? No. So in the same fucking podcast, jokes at the expense of Jewish people are off the table because we're under a threat right now, but you can joke about shooting a missile at Greta's boat. Meanwhile, by the way, I should point out, the IDF went on board, seized the boat, and took Greta and everybody else on the boat hostage.
Yep.
Okay, but I'm not done yet.
Yep, they did that for about a couple of days.
Jewish jokes have to be off the table, right?
Let it go.
Listen to what he said back when he was talking about, remember Colin Kaepernick, when he would take a knee during the national anthem to protest police abuse against unarmed black people?
It's so nice not to hear them rage about Kaepernick after all these years. Now I gotta hear this crap again.
A huge story. So I'm gonna say something that's racist, but I don't think it's racist. I don't think if you think something and don't say or act upon it, you can be called a racist.
But you're saying it.
If you think racist stuff, you are racist regardless if you say it.
But you're gonna say it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it. When I heard this story, I didn't read it. I didn't know why he was saying there. I was like, oh, he's an ISIS guy. Like, that was my original thought. Because he kind of looks like...
He is very confusing. He is very confusing, I will give you that.
Throw a head wrap on this thing.
Oh my god. He's calling Kaepernick an ISIS member because he looks Arab. And he's not Arab, he's mixed race.
Yeah, all minorities are just Arab. And all Arabs are ISIS, therefore everyone, if you're not white, you're ISIS. Fuck out of here, you Al-Qaeda.
Oh my goodness. Imagine being this triggered 10 years ago because, God forbid, an NFL player takes a knee during the anthem. My goodness.
It's not standing for the national anthem because he wanted to, like, kill all Americans?
No, I thought he maybe had some terrorist Arabic...
All right, listen.
Maybe it was like on Palestine side or something.
Come on.
That's dumb, but he is first...
Like, you really can't be mad at people if we call you racist for that. Like, come on. Like, seriously.
Team all racial confusion. I don't know what's going on there.
He has the beard.
It's not crazy.
He's got a
He has the beard.
Jew froze, terrorist beard, terrorist skin.
Yeah.
It's confusing.
Terrorist beard, terrorist skin.
I was like, why wouldn't he stand? I'm not like, oh, he thinks black people, which I guess he's black?
He's mixed.
I think so.
Okay, so I didn't know that. I thought he was Arabic. So...
and all this crime because he took a knee during the anthem,
person is not
for God's
standing
sake.
for the national anthem, I go terrorist right away.
Because you guys are the ultimate Karens.
You can't say someone's... I would never do anything.
That just
that's how my brain works. I'm just
exists now.
Maybe you conservatives should just stay out of the NFL, and then us base progressives can enjoy the sport since you guys don't like it.
Exactly.
I can't laugh at you because I went down this road with Al Jazeera. Sometimes your brain just goes terrorism, and so Dave Kaepernick.
When I think of Kaepernick, I don't think he's a terrorist or an Arab now. I think he was a former quarterback for the 49ers. Maybe you guys are obsessed with Idpol. I sure am not.
I know, it just happens, Dan. It just happens.
No, I just like this new... It used to be, I got a black friend, I'm not racist. Now we're doing... You can't hold my racist brain against me.
Oh, yeah, we can.
Bill Parcells. No offense to the Japs, but they ran a trick play.
So if you're keeping score, you're not allowed to make any jokes that involve Jews, but you are allowed to joke about murdering pro-Palestine people like Greta, and you are allowed to joke about Arabs, Muslims, Palestinians, imply that they're all terrorists. That you're allowed to do.
Or make jokes at people that look like Arabs.
It's so crazy to me too, right? Because all the people who pretended, bro, I'm against identity politics, bro, I'm against identity politics.
You literally just did that with Kaepernick.
fucking
They
idiots.
Yeah,
are the
that's
first ones.
their whole existence.
How about you just watch? How about you watch football like based Americans and stop crying?
Who go into identity politics mode when it comes to Israel.
And stay mad you can't win 6 Super Bowls in a row in my Falcons franchise.
Perfect example. Ben Shapiro. Always Mr. Bro, I don't play identity politics. Identity politics are stupid when you're talking about gender stuff and you're talking about black and white stuff and Hispanic stuff. Bro, I don't play no stupid identity politics, bro. Then
yes,
the second
you
it has to do with
do.
Israel,
That's
the
your
second
whole
has to do with Jewish people,
existence.
it's, oh my God, he whips out that victim card
because
so
you're
fucking
all
fast.
Karens.
You have no idea. Right? And they're literally passing laws to try to say it's anti-Semitic to say free Palestine.
Which it's not.
You know this. We've covered this. They've passed resolutions.
Dude, they'll be passing. They're trying to pass laws to say being Palestinian is anti-Semitic.
Trying to redefine anti-Semitism
because that's what they believe.
Anti-Zionism as anti-Semitism, which is obviously absurd.
It's pathetic.
So all the anti-identity politics people, boom.
But again,
when it comes to
people,
their identity, all of a sudden, oh my God,
they love Interpol. That's their whole job is to be in
Kaepernick is mixed race. He's an Arab. He's a member of ISIS.
This is unacceptable. You can't make jokes, bro. Don't make jokes. So look, like I said, to be fair, the incident of the guy just yelling at him like "fuck the Jews" or whatever, that's not even a joke. So I kind of agree that's beyond the pale. But at the same time, let's be serious. He's trying to draw a clean line around any and all jokes involving Jews. But he's totally fine with Arab jokes, Muslim jokes, Palestinian jokes, terrorist jokes.
Sorry,
jokes
pal.
about murdering
Everything's on the table.
Who support Palestinians. And so I don't want to hear it, right? Like, if you're going to be one of these free speech bros, free speech,
God forbid they read My Blossom Summer in the future.
Identity politics. You gotta fucking be consistent. You gotta be consistent. And
just wait till volume 6, people.
Like his other Barstool bros. We're basically trying to argue that.
Conservatives will be very happy with those scenes.
We can't like talk shit about anybody and everybody, but the second
14, 15-year-old
Jews get brought up, all of a sudden you say that's not allowed.
We would come so hard
because then you're a
to
fucking
that.
hypocrite and you're the snowflake, right? You're the one playing identity politics. But I don't think he cares.
What? In their undergarments.
And I don't think he'll ever change that, right? I really don't.
We need to give Ayaka
look
heavy
how
box
Lucy
to
was
fall
joking
over
about
again.
Colin Kaepernick and saying all the shit he said about him and how quick he was willing to joke about murdering and shooting a missile at Greta. But any Jewish joke, oh, it's off the table. It's off the table. He literally said, like, when does your free speech infringe upon freedom of religion? It was his way of trying to say, like, any jokes about Jewish people by definition are off the table, and if you do it, you're an anti-Semite, and that shouldn't be allowed. And it's like, it's just amazing to me how quickly somebody can pretend to be all, bro, I don't care about feelings, and I'm all about free speech, and I'm all about being against identity
about
politics.
that? You sound like a snowflake,
they feel like
sir.
They have any opportunity, they whip out that card so quick. I'm a victim. I'm a victim. By my identity, I'm a victim.
Of course.
Oh, legendary crash out.
Sorry, pal, but we
Legendary
make fun
crash
of
out
everyone
we're
here.
witnessing
I even make fun of
from,
myself
Dave
on
Portnoy.
here.
Hey,
you
y'all,
don't
do
see
me a
me
favor.
crying now,
Yep,
do you?
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen a lot.
Oh, yeah. You do know Kyle and Cenk are supposed to be debating each other right now about MAGA? Oh, boy, we need to watch that eventually. Because apparently they had a huge meltdown at each other.
Now.
So, yeah.
That, it's like, you're insane!
And Cenk will be like, of course! So, yeah, what do you guys say about David Portnoy having a meltdown over jokes?
Of course.
I thought you
There's
guys.
no surprise.
I thought you guys are anti-joke police. Looks like you're full of crap again.
Yeah.
All right, then I guess on to the next topic now.
I believe there's only a couple left. RFK Jr. fires vaccine and cancer experts.
Of course, because the worms in his brain tell him to not keep people safe and all that, of course, because he's a piece of shit. So yeah, let's watch this after laughing.
All right, so as the country is all paying attention to other things going on right now, which are absolutely drastic and a 5-alarm fire, RFK is absolutely destroying our health infrastructure in this country in a way that is clear and obvious and a present danger. The Food and Drug Administration is planning to use artificial intelligence to radically increase efficiency in deciding whether to approve new drugs and devices. With a Trump-driven reduction of nearly 2,000 employees, agency officials view artificial intelligence as a way to speed
They're probably not going to use the ones that have been specifically
go.
developed in the medical
AI
labs. They'll be
revolution
used
is
like
upon us.
ChatGPT.
You have a lot of these tech bro billionaires are bragging about the fact that everybody's going to lose their job because of AI. So 2,000 employees fired from the FDA and our health services, right? Oh, we're going to use AI to determine which drug should be approved and which drug shouldn't be approved. Guys, I don't know if you know this. AI has a massive problem with these things. I believe they're called hallucinations, where sometimes they'll just make some shit up. It's actually kind of scary because it shows you how AI really mimics like human consciousness in many ways. Because a human, if they're in a corner and they want to get out, they'll make something up, right? And the AI does that. You've had lawyers try to,
and they'll want it to make something up so that they can prevent everything from getting approved.
Mm-hmm. So that's terrifying. Relying on AI to approve medicine? That.
Pause for a moment. Just found out by the OSync Twitter thing I just told you about earlier. Israel did a huge attack obliterating an Iranian missile base just recently.
It's crazy, bro. That is crazy. Okay. I would want the best doctors in the country to be reviewing this stuff and to be making the decisions, not fucking AI.
And also another thing, they basically have lost like 10-1 in terms of anti-missile defenses recently that Israel destroyed.
It's run by like Elon Musk or some other
not surprising.
Silicon Valley asshole.
So much for being strong, am I right, people?
This is just the beginning. But we also have this. RFK Jr. to fire all members of the CDC's Vaccine Advisory Committee. Jesus Christ. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. plans to fire all 17 members of the panel that advises the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on vaccines. He said Monday, quote, the committee has been plagued with persistent conflicts of interest and has become little more than a rubber stamp for any vaccine, Kennedy wrote in
always projection
published in the Wall Street Journal. He wrote that the decision is meant to restore faith in vaccines. Oh my God.
Take your worm-infused brain and your nasally voice somewhere else.
In vaccines. Nearly 2 hours after Kennedy's column was published, members of the panel received termination notices from the CDC, according to a copy of the email seen by Politico. Per the June 9, 2025 directive from the Secretary of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, this email serves as a formal notice of your immediate termination as a member of the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices. AKIP votes on updates to the CDC's vaccine schedule. The CDC director has the power to overrule those recommendations, but rarely does. Kennedy, a longtime vaccine skeptic, will now be able to select replacements for all members who usually serve 4-year terms. So RFK Jr. is going to get to pick who goes on the vaccine committees. I think we all know they're going to be anti-vaccine people. His one dyed-in-the-wool, tried-and-true belief is that he thinks vaccines are bullshit. He thinks they're poisoning you.
Which they're not,
he thinks they're horrible. So he's going to bring in a bunch of
anti-all vaccines.
He's going to bring in a bunch of junk science believers. We're at the point that now it's like you can't get civilized healthcare in this country. I mean, we don't have universal healthcare, so in a sense, you've never been able to get civilized healthcare in this country. But at least we knew the proper protocol.
Anti-vaxxers have no place in the government, people.
Now, that's going away. That's going away.
He needs to be
kicked
from
out. Gabrielle A. Perry. As an epidemiologist, I feel like I can't breathe. I genuinely can't breathe having to act normal, like nothing is happening. Like people aren't going to die because a cult is in charge of the country. They are in a cult. Republicans are a fascist death cult, firing all cancer doctors and vaccine specialists.
Yeah? Well,
they fired every scientific advisor at the National Cancer Institute. They just fired every single person on the vaccine panel for the nation. We are no longer part of the WHO, and there is no plan for the flu season this fall. God help us. So they slow-rolled the flu vaccine for this year, right? Now there's no plan for the flu season, so maybe you won't even be able to get a flu shot, which means flu rates are going to spike, more people are going to die, fired all the cancer experts, all the vaccine experts, and you can see here that we literally know exactly who these people are. Last weekend, the National Cancer Institute had 28 scientific advisors. Today it has zero. So now, if you live in the United States of America, we need to rely more on either, like, state scientific boards, right? So, look at a functioning state like New York, for example. You have to rely on what they say, their health advice, their information. Or you need to look at, what are they saying in the UK, right? What are they saying in Canada? because science in this country is being absolutely obliterated. It's being absolutely destroyed. At the same time, by the way,
they're literally working their way through outlawing
pediatric cancer research.
Outlawing
so now the
science
medicines of
at
the
all.
future are not only in jeopardy; they're already cooked. You can't cut the NIH massive amounts of money, destroy scientific research, destroy research for medicine in this country, and expect it all to work out. And by the way, at the same time, foreign students, the best and the brightest, foreign students who would come into this country and learn here and research here and get the new scientific breakthroughs here, Trump is trying to ban them from coming to the country. In every way, shape, and form, science is under attack in this country, under assault in this country. There is a war on science being led by a fucking crank who literally drinks blue fish tank dye on a regular basis. Methylene blue is the new fad shit on the right. It's this like blue fish tank dye, which is used for some illnesses as well. They take it like fucking recreationally, and RFK takes like quadruple the dose he's supposed to fucking take. I mean, the guy is literally a crank. The guy drinks raw milk and thinks it's healthier.
Guy's probably still obsessed with ivermectin, remember?
Way less healthy than pasteurized milk. Like the number
and
of
all the other COVID
this
crap
guy
they
had,
all
it's
make
off
up
the
in their
fucking
heads.
charts. This is why he
If
had
you
a
want to
fucking
be a
brain
druggie,
worm,
how about don't be
right?
in the
Eating,
government
like,
then,
fucking
people?
roadkill meats.
Drug testing for all politicians.
He's a crank, and he believes in junk science. All these assholes who think they know better than like actual experts and doctors. Meanwhile,
we don't know more.
Based off of like some shitty blog they read.
You shut up and let the experts explain shit to you people. Like we did
Exactly.
earlier with the IAEA, unlike you, Kyle.
That in 2004 with some crank guy who's selling the new
If
version
you
of
don't
snake
know,
oil.
you shut up and listen to the experts.
The real frauds,
Contrarianism is
guys, the
cringe.
real frauds are the
Exactly.
alternative medicine cranks. There's a reason it's called alternative medicine. It didn't make the cut to become actual medicine. That's how it's alternative, right? And that's the world RFK is in. He thinks anything any snake oil salesman tells you will work, and he thinks anything from pharma is evil and they're trying to poison you. The reality about big pharma is this: they price gouge the shit out of everybody. The capitalism in this country is
evil,
insanely
but
corrupt, and
vaccines
they
work.
exploit you and they price gouge the shit out of you.
Not
But
that
that's
hard,
the
people.
problem: is the price gouging.
Exactly.
It's not whether or not the medicine works. The medicine fucking works.
If we could be
The medicine
nuanced on
works.
the Iran-Israel
Vaccines
war, you
work,
can all be
antibiotics
nuanced in
work,
other
whatever.
things. It's
that,
not
it all
hard.
works. It's just people can't afford it because this country is built on exploitation and hyper-capitalism. And I mean, honestly, we should nationalize big pharma and make it so that, you know, it's just funded through tax money and everybody's medicine is just covered, right? Like that's the solution.
benefit
But he's not in
scheme.
favor of that. He's not in favor of universal health care, Medicare for all. He's not in favor of nationalizing big pharma. He's in favor of destroying the existence of the medicines that work. Oh my God.
Brought a campaign to make
It's
science
incredible.
illegal.
There's a difference between being anti-big pharma in the sense that you're against the price gouging they do and just being anti-modern medicine. RFK is anti-modern medicine, and this
And
is
those
not getting
views
the
need to be
coverage that it
banned
absolutely
from the
needs
government.
and that it absolutely deserves. There's so much other crazy shit going on, and right under our noses, our entire scientific infrastructure in this country is being
Honestly,
obliterated. They're taking a
What
fucking
needs to
sledgehammer.
happen to RFK Jr. is he
That's the
needs
show,
to be
y'all.
eaten
I
by
love
a
you very much.
giant
You guys know
worm
the
in
drill.
whatever
Everybody please click
game
like.
giant worms appear in.
Should we show him an orf-worm then?
Click subscribe. If you do anything, just
Yeah.
click that subscribe
Or do you
button.
think
It
the
helps out
earthworm
massively.
would be
It costs you
offended?
nothing. Thank you to everybody who supports the show on Patreon. If you'd like to support, that link is below. Or you could tip with that thanks button on YouTube. Or you can support Crystal Kyle and Friends on
ground
Substack.
type.
That
I
link
don't
is
like
also
you.
below. And go subscribe to Corin's World, the YouTube
I'm
channel. where we
immune to
post the
ground
Kyle and Corin
types.
podcast. We still haven't missed a week.
And I love eating you,
subscribe
eating
to my
you
boy
ground
Corin. We're trying to get him
types.
to 100,000 subs. He's at about 14 or 15 now. All right, I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Hey, oh my God. So yeah, what do you guys say about RFK Jr. being a piece of shit as always?
Yeah, no surprise there.
Hurry up, brain worms, and finish him off already, for God's sake. And take Tulsi
I'm amazed it hasn't already.
And take Tulsi Russian asset Gabbard with you. Alright, and now for the final topic.
That is...
Something
Dylan
else-
Burns destroys anti-Ukraine left.
I think Hassan just shit himself here and that. So of course, Dylan Burns, who is once again back in Ukraine, covering the Russo-Ukraine war as the base mailander he is, did a 15-minute long segment humiliating and destroying anti-Ukraine dumb leftists with the eloquence that you'd expect from him as always. No screaming or yelling, just methodically destroying him like we would do. Like, remember years ago when we did that hour-long special episode about covering all their excuses why we can't support Ukraine and all that? Well, Dylan Burns, of course, destroyed them because all these idiots, dumb leftists who actually probably just straight up Trumpsters now, saying that, we need to have negotiations. We need to give the Russian Nazi state everything they need to end the war and all that. Well, all these months later showing that, no, they are not willing to negotiate. They want everything, and therefore you shouldn't negotiate with them, period. All of a sudden now, as Dylan points out, they've been kind of quiet. I wonder why. So, yeah, this was an absolute beautiful sight when I watched the other day, too. Also, on the front lines, too, as he was doing this video. And, of course, this is a very low-volume video because it's on the travel, so be ready for that. But let's watch Dylan destroy anti-Ukraine leftists.
I'm currently en route to Konstantinivka. We're going over there. We informed them, gave them our press cards and everything. We're going to be working in the city. We're going to be filming, trying to get some good B-roll. As I'm trying to document as much of this.
Oh yeah, I don't know if we covered this last time, but of course recently, Russia started a new summer offensive near the area where Ukraine invaded Kursk from. And do you want to take a guess what's happened a few weeks since it happened? What do you think happened? Very little gains with severe casualties.
City's destruction and what the community is going through as possible. Now, I want to talk about a specific subject, and it has to do with the fact that a certain section of the American left, Ukraine, has become untenable.
Yep, Hassan, the Russian asset.
You might hear some beeping from a drone.
Chinese asset too.
So it becomes so untenable that they don't even talk about it anymore. They've stopped talking about the war.
It's anti-America.
Only mention it in passing because it's completely inconvenient. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not talking about the largest amount of what would describe itself as the left in America. Not a single Democratic congressman or senator has ever voted against Ukraine aid.
Base.
Opposition congressionally is only
like I said,
the
base.
Party, right? The Democratic Party has been the most loyal when it comes to the support,
which makes dumb leftists mad.
And trying to make sure that the Ukrainians have something to defend themselves after we ask them to give up their atomic weapons for our security. They are the ones who want to deliver on that security, not only because they care about transatlantism, but also because of them wanting to keep that commitment, or any other number of reasons, from wanting to respect defense companies and make sure their bottom line is profitable, all the way to reasons that can be as base as the humanitarian concerns of people ruling themselves. So I am not talking about AOC, I am not talking about Nancy Pelosi, I'm not talking about anyone elected. What I am talking about is a certain subject of what would be considered the hard left in the United States. Much of them socialist.
Dumb leftists, you mean, Dylan.
Others who
dumb fuck leftists.
Who have hardcore horseshoe theory to the point it's up their ass.
To the rage against the war.
Yep.
And they probably come to the fall of that.
The opposition, Jackson King spoke and all these people. And I saw a broad swath of people at that rally. I saw everybody from Vietnam-era anti-war protesters to white nationalist Nazis. That is quite a large swath of people. But when I talk to those people, the general feeling that I could connect from every single one of them, from the furthest of the left to the ones that are more mild on the left, that are critiques of supporting Ukraine, was they don't want to add fuel to the fire. That if you give the Ukrainians ammunition, what you're doing is you're fueling war, you're not ending war. You don't give people the tools to conduct war if you're somebody who is against war and is against the violence. Therefore, you don't want to put gasoline on a burning flame. That was the general idea. And instead, the counter-proposal was, we should negotiate. Wait, drone detector again. Just 1 second. Maybe a Mavic. Who knows? Anyway, the thing is, this position has always been bet on the idea that if we just stop sending Ukraine weapons, as the United States, or wherever your European country may lie where this person resides, that therefore we would force negotiations. That negotiations would begin, the Russians would sit down, the Ukrainians would sit down, they would find some middle-of-the-road position, and maybe the Ukrainians wouldn't get everything they want, maybe they wouldn't get everything they deserve, but by God, they would get peace. 1 second, there's a checkpoint. So, This premise, again, was completely dependent, not slightly dependent, completely dependent. Without it, it had no foundation. Because if we stop sending Ukraine weapons and the war continues, the only difference is that the people defending their homes in Ukraine, defending Ukraine's right to have a sovereign state, defending their flawed but still democratic society, defending their civic institutions, their religious freedom, their freedom of expression, their national culture, their ability to speak their own language, their ability to participate in their own arts and whatever. All of these things that designates the Ukrainians as a separate people with their own way of life that is very different from the Russians at this point when you compare political structures. They would have no ammunition to defend it. They would have no ammunition to defend their homes. They'd have no ammunition to defend their society. The only difference would be the war would continue, but Ukraine would have less air defense systems. Ukraine would have less.
Dumb leftists getting hard at that thought of murdering Ukrainians.
So the only thing that would be different is not that the fire would stop.
And that, of course, murdering Westerners. And also, again, I will always remind people frequently that the Russians are using Christian Nazis from all over their country, and they're also using Chechen Islamic Nazis in their war against Ukraine.
And to murder and rape Ukrainian women and LGBT.
To stop the blaze from getting out of control. If anybody knows anything about, firefighting, I'm kind of assuming a lot of my audience right now. But
careful, Dylan. All the dumb leftists will bring up your house burning down again.
The necessity of the Russians being willing to engage in
good faith and they'll try to murder you again.
The entirety of this leftist view of the war collapses in on itself, utterly and completely. And so, now that we have El Duce Donald Trump, now that we have this new government in place that is forcing negotiations. They said they would have it done before they were in office, then it was 24 hours, then it was within 100 days. Well, I'm telling you, we're on the way to Constantinople.
And now the new excuse is every 2 weeks, every 2 weeks, every 2 weeks, just like with Iran now. Well, we'll decide in 2 weeks.
Completely surrounded in like cages and stuff. It's Mad Max out here sometimes. But now that this negotiation has clearly failed, and I don't know, that might be a Mavic, we don't know. Now that those negotiations have completely failed on its face, and the Russians are saying things like, the head of the Russian negotiating team said like 2 days ago, we don't really want to negotiate anymore. The Russians are telling us to bomb. The Russians are telling us to do this. So, what does this mean for the leftist position?
Oh yeah, speaking of which too, while the Iran-Israeli war was going on, as it wasn't really covered much, Russia did a huge attack on Ukrainian civilians recently with drones. It killed like 40 civilians.
Exactly.
Negotiations have obviously failed.
No different than Israel and Iran people.
Point, you're a Neanderthal, and I'm never going to convince you. So I'm just going to give up on convincing those people. And just
looking at you, Hassan, again.
So,
yeah, Hassan, you Eastern asset.
It leaves it in quite the picture. Because without the Russians being willing to engage in good faith negotiations...
Oh god, Dum leftists were raging balded because Dylan took forever to put his press vest on.
Of course, because they're morons.
Boo-hoo!
It's not going to happen with them making...
I'd like to see you all have balls...
ratio.
I'd like to see you all have balls to go on the Russo-Ukrainian front like he's done for every year so far.
That they've never even gotten
exactly.
The city of Kherson, where the human safari is ongoing. I mean, that's never going to work because you're.
He has brass balls painted with Maryland's flag on them.
Which is never going to work. This is an old body armor set. It always gets jammed up. Let me try the other one first. See, this is the problem.
All that crying in a moment because it take him that long to get his press vest on.
Anyway, so those are positions that the Ukrainians will not agree to. The Russians continue to expand their conditions, and at this point, negotiations is nothing more than a mean by which the Russians will continue to delay.
For all of you didn't hear, recently the new requirement for concessions to end the war is now NATO needs to remove troops from Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. Gee, I wonder why they wanted us to do that.
The American response, as Donald Trump seems much more
he'd be claiming he wants NATO to just be abolished so he can take over every country east of Germany.
Remember, guys, that was one of the requirements. Because remember, we covered it like the week before the war. That was one of the things they wanted was NATO troops out of all of Eastern Europe.
Trump but he seems to not be willing to take any action to change that outcome. So, negotiations fail. Where does that leave the leftist position? Well, what that means is that the war isn't ending anytime soon. And as somebody on the ground here, I can tell you, the Ukrainians are digging trenches everywhere, and they're getting ready not only for the war to touch other parts of the Donetsk region where I am currently at and filming in, but also on the Zaporizhzhia front line, also in the Dnipro region. I've been filming with a lot of teams in the Dnipro region, and the Russians are currently expanding the war by further attacking Kharkiv and invading into the Sumy region. So, adding fuel
and
to
getting
the fire,
obliterated too. Oh yeah! Recently, they had 1 million casualties.
Exactly.
The United States, the cutting of aid, the diverting of the 20,000 drone interceptors to the Middle East so the Trump administration can continue to escalate against the Iranians because they want to stop the Iranian nuclear program. This has not worked.
Also, fuck off Trump for doing that.
And the fire continues to burn. In fact, the fire is burning hotter right now than at any point in the war. There's more drone attacks against Ukraine. There's more offensives going on all across the front line in Sumy and Kharkiv and Donetsk and Zaporizhzhia. Even in Luhansk, they continue to try to take the Serbian force. Filmed over there, BMP mission on the main channel if anyone wants to check that out. Obviously, this has failed. So that position is untenable because the foundation by which it was built upon has collapsed. Therefore, these people need to find a new position. And I've seen them struggling, but so far most of them have just become quiet or they have just gone to the old talking points. And so these people need a
Or they're too busy being anti-Semitic to Israel now.
Yes. So, are we going to Konstantinivka?
Laura.
And today was hit FPV in village Illinivka. It's near Konstantinivka, exactly near place where we're going. Okay. And one civilian 200 and 3 or 4 civilians 300. So it means 1 killed and 3-4 injured.
The situation there is really bad, and so I want to make sure I can concentrate on this, so we'll try to wrap up this as soon as possible. But I wanted to go through like 5 major points about this come to Jesus moment. Number 1, you guys need to abandon aesthetics in favor of policy. Be looking at like the governor of Pennsylvania signing shells and be like, I don't like that, that's bad, why would you sign that? At the end of the day, matters very little to basically not at all. What matters is how you can empower the people who are being finding themselves, under fire, being bombed. What matters is making sure that we get the best policy outcome, not you being able to say, look at me, I'm standing up to the American military-industrial complex, when really the people...
Oh yeah, and here's some more devastating things that you dumb leftists that are anti-Ukraine are not going to like hearing. I just looked up the Kyiv Independent just a while ago, and I just noticed something after reading down quite a bit from 6 hours ago. Putin said at a speech in St. Petersburg International Economic Forum that all of Ukraine belongs to Russia.
I saw that a few minutes ago from on ABC. So yeah, people. And it wouldn't just be Ukraine either. He wants Moldova and Georgia as well.
And then all of Eastern Europe, and then the rest of the Caucasus, and then the Central Asian, all the stands. So, yeah, people, you can't, just like with Hitler, Vladimir Putin cannot be appeased. Only putting bullets in his head will stop him.
Who are going to be most affected by this are going to be the people on
Which it would make sense going the way of his beloved Hitler.
Don't empower the military-industrial complex to empower the military-industrial complex.
And then dumb leftists will cry that I'm being too mean to him now.
Look at me, this isn't Vietnam, okay? And you need to realize it isn't Vietnam. Each war has its own conditions and therefore its own policy solutions. Next thing is, we acknowledge the national sovereignty of many nations in the world, but when it comes to the Ukrainians, there's been a real failure to acknowledge their demands. And I think that a big thing that could really help in this come to Jesus moment is people platforming Ukrainians. People, question mark, Mavics and question mark.
Careful, Dylan. Hassan will not like hearing that.
Bombing, who are facing their children being trafficked out of the country, who are facing occupation, who are facing the worst you can imagine of torture. Platforming those people and listening to those stories, I think will really help you when a lot of people, how they learn about Ukraine is through either people who have never been here, who have nothing invested in this country, or are literally learning from state outlets. or the things that are derivative of state outlets, Laura.
And Dylan, we know damn well a lot of these dumb leftists, they're just racist to Ukrainians probably deep down too.
Exactly.
Especially Hassan.
We need to man, it's active around here, isn't it? We need to prioritize future stability. What does that mean? That means that when this war is over, there has to be a security apparatus in place that will stop it from reigniting again.
Ukraine joins NATO. How about that one?
Nothing but pass the struggle on to another future generation of Ukrainians to make yourself feel good. And how you feel doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the TV makes you feel bad because you're seeing a bunch of corpses on TV. The corpses actually here matter a lot more than that, or the corpses that could come in the future. Next thing is, we need to empower the conquered, not the conqueror. So removing sanctions off of the nation that is engaging in the conquering is not going to do anything but allow them to make more CNC machines, to make more bombs, to do more bombing. Empower the conquered, and then maybe the conqueror
the people that the people that are saying that, people that are talking about being anti-Ukraine are the ones who are pro-war.
The United States has done a lot of horrible things around the world, but a lot of people take the American exceptionalist view, which is flawed, and say that's disgusting. I'm going to take the inverse. America is uniquely evil.
American Diabolist, like you, Kyle and Hassan.
America is uniquely in all these ways. When to be quite frank, go read Karl Marx's view on the matter. Go read any number of your old lefty theorists who talked openly about Russian Empire and what it means for people. Ever since the founding of leftism or the founding of the more labor movements, they understood, a lot of them, those who are more educated, that America is not, there's a destroyed car right there, America is not particularly evil. It has done evils, but if you take this anti-American exceptionalist, the reverse, it's uniquely evil. It's uniquely evil. What you end up doing is you end up
again, people, nuance.
The crimes of other empires.
It's not hard.
When stuff like what's happening right here.
And they'll never, but of course, the far right and the fake left always are
too busy horseshoeing each other sexually. I mean, isn't it obvious?
We need a more international empire. If the United States disappeared tomorrow, the Russians would not stop bombing Ukraine. What they would take from that is it's going to be a lot easier to bomb them now. Once we understand that, then I think it's going to be a lot easier for us to talk to people rationally about what the actual policy solutions are for these people, who many of whom are getting hunted. At the end of the day, this isn't about you feeling good. This isn't about your aesthetics. This isn't about, stopping this horrible image on TV. This isn't even about your domestic political concerns. This is about empowering the people who are going to have to live in this country for the next decades and decades and decades. When the TV stops talking about it, the majority of Americans will stop thinking about it. Let's prioritize those on the ground instead of your aesthetics. There we go. Let's go.
Man, dumb leftists are mauling, raging, coping, everything.
They're molding, seething, everything, yeah.
So what do you
cope, mold, seethe, dilate, L plus ratio.
So what do you have to say about Dylan Burns effectively destroying these idiots once again in the nicest way possible, unlike us?
That's always something I appreciate about Dylan, is how nice he can be about taking people down.
That's how us Marylanders are, people. Except me when I get angry. So, yeah, guys, let's make this abundantly clear. The only way, the only valid peace that can happen to end the Russo-Ukraine war, two things have to happen. One, Russia has to leave all of Ukraine, go back to the pre-2014 borders. And that includes Crimea, too. They got to give that back as well. And two, Ukraine must join NATO. And need to have NATO and American troops, bases, all across the country to scare the Russian Nazi state away. And maybe we should then encourage Georgia to try and take back their shit. And maybe bring Armenia back in after Russia.
Moldova.
Yep, and kick them out.
We need to do that with Georgia and Moldova as well.
Yep.
And maybe Georgia to take back South Ossetia and Moldova to take back Transnistria.
And then maybe offer Kazakhstan support too, because Russia wants them too. Yeah. So people.
What we need, maybe we could eventually then start breaking Russia apart.
So people, you don't appease Nazis like we didn't do in World War II. You oppose them and you put bullets in their head. After all, they do make good fertilizer, remember? So yeah, guys, that is all the topics, and that's going to wrap it up here. So see you all next time for episode 132.